Every track we spin you, take you to new heights. It's a place to chill.
Our little project, our little company had a very big night. A very big night. But it wasn't complete. Wasn't nearly close to being in the same vicinity as complete. Because I couldn't share it with you. I couldn't hear your voice or laugh.
Sit at the boat. Trust, leave the stress behind. Welcome to the show. This love is just for you. See with peace, your proof. Where dreams is helping you. Coming on the let you sing along the end. Hope you're feeling bright, cause we got the vibe so grand. Get cozy and unwind. The news that you demand. See with peace the spot. Leave the slip podcast land. Hey, let's see with me. Walk here, coach, sit back and take it easy. Welcome to the show. Pull up your seats where the music flows. And vibe so sweet. We've got a night full of joy and laughter. Just press play for the rhythm and feel the banter. Lights digital, set the mood just right. Kick up your feet, we're gonna vibe all night. Welcome to the show. It's T with P. DJ spinning tracks. Got that reggae spree. Tune in the dots. Let the vibes be free. Late night session. Sit at the bulky. Coming on the late show. Sing it on the end. Hope you're feeling right. Cause we got the vibes so grand. Get cozy and unwind. With news that you demand. T with P's the spot. The best in podcast land. Welcome to the show. It's T with D. DJ spinning tracks. Got that reggae spree. Tune in the dots. Let the vibes be free. Late night session. Sit at the bulky. Coming on the late show. Sing it on the end. Hope you're feeling right. Cause we got the vibes so grand. Get cozy and unwind. With news that you demand. T with pizza spot. The best in podcast land. Welcome back, listeners to
Boom. All right. Let's try take 2. Sorry about that, friends. I have no idea what happened. I literally just turned it off and then turned it back on again. And here we are. And at this very moment, it seems to be running pretty good. Sorry about that, friends. I struggle with YouTube and OBS for some reason. I can go live on any other platform and have absolutely zero issues, but as soon as I start to go live on YouTube, it throws me a wrench. But guys, it is so good to see you pulling up. Thank you guys for checking in. We were checking in on a little stash blend. Did you guys get to see that skit? Did it work all the way through very well or no? Did you guys get to see that one? You might definitely get to see it again a little bit later. As I mentioned, we got Danny Danko in the house, guys. Start this fresh because this is going to be the show that everyone gets. Thank you to tuning in for T with P. This is take 2. This is where we like to talk about all things nudes, culture, science, health, you name it. Nothing is off the table. At the top of the next hour, we've got Danny Danko tuning in, and I am extraordinarily stoked for that because I cannot wait to hash out all things weed with him because it's going to be a great conversation. Thank you guys for pulling up. I appreciate you guys, man. We missed the punchline. Oh, that's all right. We'll get to see it again. I promise. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. But it is what it is. Thank you guys for pulling up. This is the episode before 420. 420 is in 4 days, or 5 days or something like that. It's on Sunday. And we won't be here until Tuesday or Wednesday next week. So I figured, you know what? Let's pay some homage to the 420 events and the things that are growing on and happening around the community. So we're going to be talking about a few things 420 related. We're going to be busting some 420 myths. We're going to be talking about some 420 events, and we're going to be diving into the nudes. All that throughout this episode. We've got autism and CBD in the conversation. We've got companies giving away 2,000 THC infused beverages for testing and studying, and we're going to be talking about free med cards for vets, all that and so much more in the nudes. Now I think it's only fair, for the record, Mrs. P, we handled that pretty damn well. Shout out to the flock for filling us in regards to things lagging, because I had no idea, and then I just saw that it filled up. I was like, oh dang, and I looked at the frames and they were dropping like ham, and I was like, oh boy, but we got it. Nobody sweat. So how you doing, Mr. P? Good. Glad to hear that. They'll pick you up a little bit, I think, maybe. Mrs. P's like, do I talk a little bit? Because like her mic kind of cancels mine out.
I have to get in like real close so I don't echo.
It echoes a little bit. She's on a way better microphone than I am. You'd be like, why?
I also feel like I'm really loud. So.
Sometimes. But yes, guys, I'm going to be enjoying myself a little bit of conversation and such. Guys, huge shout out to my patrons, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to everyone who supports the show over on Patreon. I do have private grow classes that are taking place, and they're going to... it was there. Oh, it's on the other screen. You can't see it. It's below. That's what it is. It's just really low. I don't think I centered it on this screen. I centered it on the other one. I want to shout out my patrons. Thank you guys for supporting me. This is a crowdfunded and dream-driven channel, and I appreciate all the support. That goes for the members of the channel as well. Thank you guys for supporting the show. I do offer live grow classes. If you're interested, that's over on patreon.com/pigeons420. Live grow classes. There's also an exclusive portion of my Discord as well. So yeah, all that and more. But I want to say hi to you guys in the chat. What's up, Double A? Good to see you, man. Ryan's here. Oddball Paul, good to see you. Terp Turtle is in the house. J Rats, holla, good to see you, my friend. Mr. ROB CLTV, good to see you too, my friend. Thanks for pulling up. John, good to see you. Drew, hello, friend. Double A, what up? Good to see everybody. Thank you guys for pulling up. I got a little Peyote Skittles by Seedsman here in the bowl, and I'm loving every bit of it. Dro, what you doing, man? Mrs. Old Fart says hi. Hello, Mrs. Old Fart. Good to see you. Wisconsin is in the house too. EAT, the ACI. Oh, eat the ACI cookie. No, not yet, Wisconsin. Not yet, brother.
Maybe he'll let me have it for my birthday.
Maybe. The biggest 420 event in our house is Mrs. P's birthday. Mrs. P's birthday is on Sunday. She is a 420 baby, and I'm not even making that up. That would be the coolest thing for a stoner guy like me to have a 420 wife, and I do.
I do my driver's license, but that's a little too personal. So.
Little personal, but yeah. We're gonna be celebrating her birthday, doing some hockey, man. We got hockey on the palette. It's pretty much how we celebrate every 420, to be honest, because it ends on, or they always land on tournament weekends. But Smoking Joe, good to see you, my friend. What is up? Yo, Trent, what's up? Brian, Denny, good to see you guys. What's her social security number and what's that? Blood type. Cheers, brother. Cheers, boys and girls. Shout out to everybody out there, man.
Be positive, blood, but we don't have social security numbers up here in Canada.
No, what do we have? Social insurance? Yeah, social insurance numbers. Yo, I think it's fair that we just dive straight into the news. What do you think, Mrs. P? What do you think? We got lots to talk about tonight. Boom. That was like my transition sound.
Oh. Canna News. All things culture, science, and health. Your one-stop shop for all things Canna News.
There's a few things on the docket today that I think are very, very important, involving a lot of very important topics of conversation. However, I think the very first thing that we should talk about is the most important of them of all. And that is, ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Chong and Cheech have their final movie coming out. Cheech and Chong's last movie. Check this out. So, according to their official Twitter post or X post, Bring a Bud, tickets on sale now, exclusively in theaters, April 25th. Cheech and Chong's last movie. I'm all for this. I'm all for this. We are due for a good stoner movie, baby. And Cheech and Chong are a great set of folks to turn to because, well, they are the best. I think I consider them pretty magic in regards to the laughs that they've done, the lives that they've lived, the things that they've accomplished. And I'm all for this. You know what? In fairness, I'm going to go in with an open mind. I'm going to go in high as balls. And I'm just going to soak up good quality talent and good vibes while they're still here, man. You know, the boys at From the Stash and I, we had the pleasure of interviewing Mr. Tommy Chong. And in fact, shout out to Chris. Chris actually got him to smoke a joint with us while we were live, or while we were recording. And that was absolutely wicked. Too cool to be able to take in that experience. So yeah, fuck yeah, I'm all about gonna check out this movie, Tommy Chong's last movie. What do you guys think? Are you guys gonna go into it with an open mind, or are you in the kind of the camp that prequels suck? And of course it's Cheech and Chong. How many movies they got? Like 4? Yeah, Up in Smoke tour. I don't even know, man. I got no idea. They don't have the Up in Smoke tour. I gotta be honest, I've never seen a single one of them. So I would, wow, that's not true. I've seen a little bit of the first one.
There's 9.
Oh, there's 9 of them. Holy jeez Louise, Batman. Okay, all right. Organis is a must for some. Yes, you know, that's a very plausible, got a hair in my eye. It's a very plausible idea, actually. So yeah, this is what we're looking at, and I'm totally all for it. So Cheech and Chong's last movie, coming out in select theaters 2020. April 25th. So, are you excited? Are you excited? So, big story here tonight. One of the main ones, actually, that I put in the title is CBD and autism. This is a big one, guys. This is a big one because I agree to your cookies. Because this would be not the first time we've had studies on cannabis and autism, but another study that kind of just points to the finger of more benefits to people suffering from just a wide variety of ailments. So Health Today, along with a few other publications, are reporting CBD cannabis extracts could reduce autism symptoms in youth. Wednesday, April 16th, 2025, CBD cannabis extracts appear to provide meaningful benefits for children and adolescents with autism spectrum disorder, ASD. According to a review presented at the annual European Congress of Psychiatry, held from April 5th to 8th in Madrid, Laura Capoletti Beniti Branco from São Camilo University Center in Brazil and colleagues conducted a systemic literature review and meta-analysis of randomized placebo-controlled trials to investigate the efficacy and safety of CBD cannabis extracts in alleviating symptoms of ASD in children and adolescents. Based on 3 included studies, 276 participants, the researchers found that interventions including orally administered CBD cannabis extracts with THC present in minimal amounts or in ratios of 9:1 to 20:1 CBD to THC, dosages of CBD started at 1 milligram per kilogram per day were titrated. Sorry, I'm not familiar with the word titrated. Hey Siri, what does titrated mean? Chemistry ascertain the amount of constituent in a solution. Oh, ascertain the amount of constituent in a solution by measuring the volume of a known concentration. Okay, got it. Okay. Were titrated up to 10 milligrams per kilogram per day. CBD cannabis extracts were significantly associated with enhanced social responsiveness, reduced disruptive behavior, and alleviated anxiety. There were also a trend towards improved sleep quality with use of CBD cannabis extracts. For adverse effects, there were no significant differences between interventions and placebo. If I articulated that well enough in a manner to which you could understand, does that not blow your mind? If it's at all possible that CBD can have an effectiveness on somebody who's on the spectrum with ASD, to either reduce their disruptive behavior, enhance their social responsiveness, and reduce anxiety, that's huge. I used to work with people with young folks with autism, and I could only imagine if they had something without any adverse effects compared to the placebo at their disposal. I think they would have benefited from it. I think that's absolutely amazing, and I think studies like this, it's kind of a no-brainer, but I think this is going to change a lot of lives. If there's more to this. So shout out to those that are able to do these studies. Shout out to maybe people with autism who have found solace in using cannabis, but unfortunately can't find a good source or can't find the validation or the medication because it's still so little known about its benefits, and they're dealing with this on the daily while knowing that they could be benefiting greatly. So I'm happy to see this, and I hope we're going to see some big changes. What do you guys think? Is there anyone in the flock that does deal with autism or anything? And if you do, what is kind of your impact when you use cannabis? How does it affect your life? I would be really interested in hearing that. Shameless plug. If you want to reach out to me, I would love to listen to you and have a conversation on Twitter. If you want to do that, at X at Pigeons420, check it out. Send me a message or just post me and let me know, because I'd love to hear from you. Love to dive into that. But what do you guys think? I calm down and I'm able to relax. Ryan? Yeah. Definitely helps my ADHD. Lisa, I feel you with that one. That's Charlotte's Web CBD. Syntax? Yeah. My friend's son is on the spectrum. He deals with a lot of medical issues. She gives him full spectrum gummies and it helps a ton. Wow, I think that's beautiful. I stepped a half a frame. I lost a 0.5% of frame, so I don't think it's me.
I think it was when I put
the graphic on. Damn. Oh gosh. I sure hope this goes seamless tonight. I'm telling you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the story. I'm curious what you think, and if you are impacted in any way by that, I want to hear from you. There's a story that's dominating the headlines right now. This is one that I actually did not put in the in the title, which I probably should have, because it is dominating the news cycle right now. And this is hospital visits for cannabis use linked to higher dementia risks. Now, I'm kind of curious about this one because, as you guys know, I don't gloss over the negative aspect of cannabis. Cannabis does have a negative side to it. If you've ever eaten too many edibles, I'm sure you can attest. But Mrs. P raises her hand. The reality is there is a negative impact or a negative side effect to some from this, and I think it's important to highlight those. So if there's a credible study, I would like to look at it. So hospital visits for cannabis use linked to higher dementia risk. Individuals with an emergency department visit or hospitalization due to cannabis were 23% and 72% greater risk. We're at 23% and 72% greater risk of new dementia diagnosis within 5 years compared to individuals with emergency department visits or hospitalization for any other reason or the general population, according to a new study published in the JAMA Neurology. Kind of interesting here. Long-term and heavy cannabis use has been associated with memory problems in midlife, along with changes in brain structure associated with dementia, says Dr. Daniel Myron, a Canada Research Chair in Social Accountability at the University of Ottawa, ICES adjunction scientist. Say that 10 times fast. Investigator, I'm not even done. Oh boy. Investigator at the Brier Health Research Center. Brier. An associate scientist at the Ottawa Capitol. Do you have to sign that next? Do you think he has to sign that next to his name every time he goes somewhere? Good heavens. We set out to establish the risk of being diagnosed with dementia in a group of people whose cannabis use resulted in a visit to the emergency room or required hospitalization for treatment. So it's a pretty specific group of people. The study included 6 million adults aged 45 years or older from Ontario, Canada, who had no history of dementia when they entered the study cohort between 2008 and 2021. The individuals were followed until 2022. Health data held at ICES were used to compare new diagnosis of dementia for individuals with patterns of cannabis use that require acute care, defined as a visit to the emergency department or hospitalization. They were compared to 3 groups. 1, individuals with an all-cause acute care visit. 2, the general population. And 3, individuals with acute care due to alcohol use. Interesting. The findings. Over the study, 16,000+ individuals aged 45 years or older had acute care due to cannabis, and 60% were male. The annual rate of people over 45 with a first-time acute care visit for cannabis use increased over 5-fold over the study period, from 353 in 2008 to 2,508 in 2021. Increases were even larger in individuals 65+ years old. 5% and 19% of individuals aged 45 years or older with treatment for cannabis in acute care were diagnosed with dementia within 5 and 10 years, respectively, compared to 3.6 to 14.8%. So slightly higher in individuals in acute care and other reasons, and 1.3% and 5.5% in the general population. After considering differences in social factors, other mental health diagnosis, and chronic conditions, individuals with acute care due to cannabis were at 1.23 and 1.72-fold higher risk than individuals with all-cause acute care in the general population. Interesting. The risk of dementia in individuals with acute care for cannabis was moderately lower than comparable individuals who acquired acute care for alcohol. The authors make 2 cautions about the study findings. First, while they observed an association between patterns of cannabis use severe enough to lead to an acute healthcare visit, they did not examine patterns of cannabis use that did not require acute medical care. Second, the findings do not show that cannabis use causes dementia. I think that's very important to understand. So, an increase, a very slight increase, nonetheless, when it comes to the increase of or potential of dementia. But I think, if anything, I think this is a very hyper-focused study, because you're only you're only testing people who are you're only taking samples of people who are already in the hospital. I'm assuming, or it would lead me to believe that there is already something either A, going wrong or going to be going wrong. Based, that could lead to a factor there. However, I think it would be ignorant to ignore that there is some kind of correlation here that leads to an increased risk of dementia. And I think it would require further research and study. So I want to see more studies that will look at this kind of stuff, because when it comes to short-term memory, I kind of think it's a no-brainer that in a lot of individuals, when you consume cannabis, your short-term memory is affected by that. And I think it doesn't fail to reason that there could be some kind of correlation between the two. So what do you think on that, ladies and gentlemen? What do you think? I kind of spit that out at you a little bit weird, but I'm kind of curious if you agree or disagree. There's more nudes. Gonna fire off a couple at you here. There's more nudes in regards to cannabis and treating cancer symptoms. Now, I gotta be careful how I say this on YouTube, because YouTube does not like me talking about cannabis and cancer together, because they've literally taken my videos down that talk about cannabis and cancer and its potential for being a benefit. So you kind of got to tread on light waters here. But according to the Marijuana Moment, largest ever analysis of medical marijuana to treat cannabis symptoms shows overwhelming scientific consensus on benefits. Researchers this week published what they describe as the largest meta-analysis ever conducted on medical cannabis and its effects on cannabis-related symptoms, finding overwhelming scientific consensus on marijuana's therapeutic effects. Booyah! The study, published in the journal Frontiers in Oncology, analyzed data from 10,641 peer-reviewed studies. What authors say is more than 10 times the number in the next largest review in or on the topic. Results, quote, indicate a strong and growing consensus with the scientific community regarding the therapeutic benefits of cannabis. It says, or end quote, it says, quote, particularly in the context of cancer, end quote. Given what the report calls, quote, scattered and heterogeneous, quote, unquote, state of research into the therapeutic potential of marijuana, authors aim to, quote, systemically assess the existing literature on medical cannabis, focusing on its therapeutic potential, safety profiles, and role in cancer treatment. Booyah! That's a huge win. That's a huge win. The study was 10 times larger. That excites me, guys. Booyah! So, I just want to move on from that one. That's 10 times. We're getting studies that are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. What does that mean? That means that we're going to have more credibility. The more number of participants, or the more studies or tests that we get done, I feel like we start to encompass a larger area or a bigger group of people. So, yeah, that's how I feel. I'm excited about that. Bring it on. Bring it on. Anytime we're talking greatness, when it comes to healing cancer, or it comes really healing any ailment, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Next up, as the title explains, THC infused beverage companies are recruiting 2,000 people to drink free cannabis seltzers as alternative to alcohol for study. For study. Who wants to be a guinea pig? Let's go. Low key, how do I sign up? Because I'm really picky. They got to be good. A group of THC-infused beverage brands is looking for hundreds of adults to participate in what's described as an observational research study around cannabis-infused drinks, alcohol consumption, mood, and quality of life. Am I not a candidate or what? I'm a candidate for this. I love it. I love it. The team is currently recruiting up to 2,000 qualified participants who would receive a free supply of cannabis-infused beverages. Participants would be expected to record their alcohol and cannabis-infused drinking patterns on a daily basis, as well as complete self-assessments about their overall quality of life. I think that's great. Some of the companies that are going to be participating in this, brands backing are Brez, Nowadays, Can Trip, Death Row Records, Do It Fluid, Iconic Tonics, Hippie Water, Stizzy, and others. What a world we live in when you can now just grab yourself some free beverages for a freaking study, dude. I think that is awesome, man. What a world. What a world, man. And we're gonna be talking about the industry with Danny Danko before the industry was even an industry. Dude, I can't wait to even ask him that. Danny Danko, at the top of the next hour, we're gonna be jumping into everything weed and science and culture in his life at the top of the hour. So with Danny Danko. So hopefully all goes well with the connections and things. It looks like everything's been Gucci so far. So I'm excited about that. Another one for us. Actually, you know what? Let me have a hoot here first. You know what? Kind of tearing through this, doing a great job, feeling powerful, feeling great. Gonna have a rip. What do you guys think? Think it's only fair. Think it's only fair. Death Row. What? Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. What was the name? Something Fluids. Death Row Records Do It Fluid. Death Row Records Do It Fluid. Yeah. Oh, God.
Do you think they got permission to use that name?
Do it from what? Nike?
Death Row Records.
Oh, it is Death Row.
Is it?
Oh, it'll be.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, because we covered a few months ago that Snoop and were opening up their shop, and low key, I was excited about it. And I haven't seen any nudes in regards to how well it's doing or how well it's done. So, cheers. I think Death Row Records, of course, only makes sense. There could be worse brands out there. At least it's not like Lululemon or something. Oh, yeah. Do It Fluid. That's what it is. So, yeah. I honestly, I had never even heard of it. I'd never even heard of it. Here's one for you guys. Here's some movings. I want you guys to pay attention to this so you don't get, not you, but we don't get kind of forgotten up in or kind of confused or distracted at companies moving and companies kind of just hiding in other companies. Scott's Miracle Grow. They're transferring their cannabis subsidiary to focus on their core lawn and garden business. Okay, so when I read that title, the first thing I think is they're not making money. They're not making enough money. They're probably suffering. Ohio-based Scott's Miracle Grow is transferring its wholly owned cannabis subsidiary, the Hawthorne Collective, to an unnamed independent strategic partner. Interesting how it's unnamed. The Lawn and Garden Company announced April 10th. The company created the Hawthorne Collective in 2021 to invest in areas of the cannabis industry not pursued by its Hawthorne Gardening Company subsidiary, which focused on the cultivation supplies such as lighting, nutrients, and other materials for cannabis growers and hydroponic cultivators. Cultivators, sorry. Included within the Hawthorne Collective holdings are investments in Fluent, previously Consortium, a vertically integrated cannabis company with licenses and operations in Florida, Pennsylvania, Texas, and New York. We got ourselves an MSO. The Hawthorne Collective transaction is the initial step in our plan to move our cannabis adjacent subsidiaries into a separate and independent company as we further our strategic focus on our lawn and garden business. End quote. Said Jim Hagdorn, chair and CEO of Scott's Miracle Grow. Yeah, sorry, I said that. For our shareholders, this will reduce the impact of the cannabis sector's volatility on our company's stock and provide opportunities to drive meaningful and immediate value creation through increased investments in our consumer business. As we further advise as we further advance this plan, we next will look to separate the Hawthorne Gardening Company from Scott's Miracle Grow by close of fiscal 2025. So essentially, there's just no money there. The industry is very volatile. It's going through a lot of shaking right now as some of the biggest actors kind of crumble. Little guys start to make up some waves. Industry is established. Some industry is kind of crushed, as we've seen with the lighting. Yeah, it is not a very secure place to be right now. And of course, for a company like Scott's Miracle Grow or Hawthorne, they don't give a shit about the cannabis community at all. If it ain't making dollars, it ain't making sense. And I understand there's business to be made, but they got shareholders to please, and it's corporate, man. It's corporate. This is a company that's responsible for, as it just said, product that ships over 1, 2, 3, 4 different states. How good is that product? I could probably wager it's not very good, because the chances of you having quality product produced consistently at scale across states like that is very difficult. Very difficult. So yeah, this makes sense to me. So what we don't know is who that strategic unnamed partner is. Just keep your eyes open for any new names, any kind of thing, because it could very well be funded by this, who really don't have any desire for culture or community. They just need the money. And as I think it's important to, as the culture in the community, to try to extrapolate as much of those funds as possible to pump into our community. We need to be careful that we're not signing with the devil, hypothetically, my lawyer says in my ear. So what do you guys think? Big nudes, little nudes? I'm curious, because this is a big company. This is a huge company in our space. They definitely dictate a lot of the motion of the waves here, so in regards to finance. So I'm curious what you guys think in regards to that. Reginald, good to see you, my friend. Reginald, the hardest person to at in the chat. How you doing, brother? How you doing? Quick, good to see you too, friend. Good to see you too. LJ, hello, my friend. Hello, thank you guys for tuning in the nudes. Shortly, we're going to be tuning in to a great time with Mr. Danny Danko, guys, at the top of the show. Going to be joining us for a live conversation, and I am stoked to sit down with him. We're going to be doing all that and more at the top of the show, so stay tuned for that. Also, going to be busting some myths here right away. But here's one that might hit home for some. It appears that the Weed Museum in New York City has officially closed. THC NYC is not open. When it opened just before 420 in the spring of 2023, the House of Cannabis held a lot of promise. The first of its kind. At this scale, the museum packed every inch of its four-story, 25,000 square foot space at 427 Broadway with fascinating facts and delightful immersive experiences fit to entertain both tokers and non-smokers alike. More commonly known as THC NYC, this weed museum in Soho boasted mind-bending, multi-sensory installations, showcased art, highlighted science, and confronted the social justice issues baked into cannabis prosecution. But now, just 2 years later, the museum appears to be closed. This is by timeout.com. I'm not in New York. You know what? It does kill me that stuff like this doesn't make it, but to be honest with you, there's no way that a place like this, Broadway, I'm not from New York, but any street called Broadway in New York does not seem cheap to me. And to have, and I mean this with all due respect, to have an outfit like this in that kind of location cannot be cheap. And I can't imagine a ton of people coming to see this right? Coming to New York to be like, I need to see the THC NYC. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that would. It's just, are those people going to be enough to pay those bills? Unfortunately, no. And it, you know, like I said, it breaks my heart this doesn't happen, or that things like this don't kind of make it. But it doesn't surprise me that it didn't make it. So sorry, not trying to be an asshole. Not trying to be an asshole, but I just spilt on myself. Okay. Now we got another one here for you guys. This is another one that was in the title. This is the Florida lawmakers unanimously approved bill to make medical cannabis cards free for military veterans. Okay, military veterans now getting cards free as lawmakers unanimously approved the bill. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. The House Health and Human Service Committee advanced the legislation HB 555 from Republican Alex Andrade on a vote of 21-0. You know what? To me, it's crazy that you even have to pay for anything really medical at all. I guess in a way, I am Canadian. Remember that. I think veterans should be having free access to a lot of healthcare. And I say free access. There's no such thing as free anything. It's public. Someone's got to pay for that. So the reality is like I feel like veterans at the very least should be taken care of via the tax system, taken care of my taxes. I'd be willing to do that. It's just yeah, I'm glad to see that we're finally getting some, you know, legislation, some policy that's going in the favor of the people for this one. So yeah, it sucks that people have to pay for a cannabis card. And I was one of those people. I was one of those people too. I had to pay for many years to get my card. I think we were paying $500 a year. $500 a year so I could get my prescription. And you know, that sucks, man. That sucks. No, but you don't want to do that. So, yeah, unfortunately, people are still paying, but in Florida, veterans, you are not. And I'm excited to be able to say that. However, what you won't be able to do in Florida Senate passes bill to ban psychedelic mushroom spores as companion measure also advances in the House. Senators voted 27-9 to approve SB 700 from Senator Keith Truenow, Republican. HB 651 is moving through the House, meanwhile having advanced out of the Commerce Committee on Tuesday. The proposed ban on spores of mushrooms that create psilocybin or psilocin is a small part of roughly 150-page legislation which would make a variety of adjustments to Florida's agricultural laws, including around agricultural lands, utilities, and wildlife. So, easy come, easy go. That was pretty good. That's so much for the ban, unfortunately. I honestly believe that that sites like places will follow suit. Okay, places will follow suit in regards to banning this kind of stuff, but I do think that like it'll be a quick ship that's righted. The banning of psilocybin, the banning of cannabis, I think is we are on the proverbial mankind cusp of seeing that legalization, that stuff that doesn't harm people, that adult use that can use it, adults can use it. Just let it be, let it go, as that Frozen character would say, right? Let it go. Let it go, something like that. So yeah. Anyways, we did it. We made it through the nudes. There's a few things I wanted to mention in regards to events for 420, ladies and gentlemen. If you are wondering what to do this 420 season, there is a ton of things growing on. All right. If you're in Calgary, even I read a story that cannabis is going to be sold at outdoor events in Calgary. This is it right here. I just wanted to say that. So if you're going to a 420 event, you're in Calgary, boom, you're going to be able to get yourself something out at the event. I also was trying to find, I found this great, I don't know, I never heard of this page in my life. I was looking for events, and this page had a bunch of them, and it has them listed really well. And just real quick, just to name a few, this is KeaPush.com. Has a few 420 events posted. If you are in Beehive, Los Angeles, Kush Stock Festival is going to be taking place. That's April 19th. There's going to be E40, Juicy J, Bone Thugs and Harmony. Sounds like it's going to be pretty dope. Tickets range between $23 and $110. So it's kind of like a music festival. Denver at Civic Center Park in Denver, Colorado. You got the Mile High 420. Let's freaking go. General admin is $20, but ticket fees and VIP could be $175 plus. It looks like special celebrity guests including Tommy Chong will be there. That's pretty dope. Also, Bone Thugs and Harmony will be there. So if you don't catch them in LA, and a few others, fucking A. Merry Fest in Brooklyn, New York, gonna be a great time. That's April 19th as well. Tickets are $50. Sounds like a bunch of events. Highlights include the Garden of Mary, which is an outdoor area featuring vendors, food trucks, and a designated consumption zone, as well as live music performances and a 420-day party. Check that out. Atlanta, Georgia is going to be lighting it up for the Sweetwater 420 Festival. Man, what? Like including, so you got a lineup including the Rivalists, Marcus King, Green Sky Bluegrass, Cypress Hill, Drive-By Truckers, and Lika Franca. Wow. $80 to $270 to get in that one. Shout out Atlanta. Nashville's got a party going on. Man, just Nashville's got one going on. You got Nashville, Tennessee taking on San Francisco at the Hippie Hill Golden Gate Park. That's on the 20th. On the 19th is the Pennsylvania Cannabis Festival at Renninger's Farmers Market in Kutztown. Yeah. So anyways, it's going to be a wicked time across the United States. And in Canada, there's a huge one, Cannabis Culture, who I'm a huge fan of. They're hosting an event at Niagara Falls on 420. It's 19 plus. They're going to be tearing it up. They always throw great parties. Yeah, so if you would, real quick, can you show this one? Just on this on the screen, it's good. Yeah! And speaking of events, the DGC, the Dude Grows Cup, guys. Dude Grows Cup is going to be taking place in just a couple months, actually. Mrs. P, what's the dates on that one?
June 6th to 8th.
June 6th to June 8th is the Dude Grows Cup. This is huge. FTS is still trying to swindle their way into it. The guys have extended the invite and asked us to come, so we are doing everything we can. Trying to get a bird down to the Americas twice and so fast is expensive as heck. So we're just trying to see how we're gonna make the funds happen. But I really want to shout out the Dude Grows Cup. I honestly, like I said, I have no affiliation with this whatsoever. But it's like, these are homies. I love these guys. I love what they're doing. When I showed up in Denver, Scotty and Grambo and oh my banger, nope, and Banner. Sorry. Oh, mental laughs right there. We're all chilling, and they showed Mrs. P, Little P, and I an incredible time, and I love those guys. They're great guys. So I want to do everything I can to help sell them some tickets. So dgc.com. Mrs. P, can you throw a link in the chat so people can check that out? There'll be a ton of great events, good food, good people, and I know you're gonna have a good time. Good weed, man. There's gonna be good weed for sure. Okay. Thank you, another old fart. I appreciate you. Yeah, High C wasn't there at the time, CLTV Rob, but yeah, shout out to High C. But yeah, that was a good time, and I'm a huge fan. So there was a couple myths. I want to check your knowledge, ladies and gentlemen, on a few myths. Okay, we're gonna play a little myth busting game. I got some notes right here that I've taken, and I'm gonna state some myths. Okay, in the chat, we're gonna play for fun. We're gonna have some fun. All right, and you got to let me know what you think the answer is. Okay, all right. Is it a myth? Here we go. You guys ready? So it's time for our cannabis myth busting, and are these facts fried or just high? Okay. Myth number 1. Ready? Ready? Can you get high from eating raw weed? Of course, it's weed.
Just talked about this the other day.
Right? Of course, it's weed. Huh? Can you get high from eating raw weed? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? I know the delay on this is like 30 plus seconds, you know?
There we got some answers.
No, you can't. No, that's right. No, you can't. False. Raw weed is THCA, not THC. So no heat, no high, baby. No heat, no high, baby. Essentially, you got to decarboxylate it. Any good cooking recipe involves a good decarboxylation technique beforehand. ACI is in the house. ACI, good to see you guys. Hopefully you guys had a fantastic show this evening. Shout out to the Mendo Dope Boys doing their thing, man. Doing their thing. Appreciate you. Myth number 2. Holding in a hoot gets you higher. Duh. What do you think, guys? What do you think? What do you guys think? What do you guys think, eh? What do you guys think? Myth or no myth? Is it fried or is it just high? What do you think? What do you think? The answers are going wild, so I'm going to have myself a hoot. Guys, we're going to be sitting down with Danny Danko. Danny Danko, and just, oh, that was stupid. Just ashed in my grinder. Oh.
Maybe bad enough.
I'm just gonna reach around it. It's the old reach around. The answer. Dun dun dun. Wrong again. Wrong again. No. THC is absorbed in like the first couple seconds. Okay. Essentially holding in your hood any longer deprives your brain of oxygen, and any high that you feel is you losing brain cells. Yeah. It's a common technique. I like to inhale slowly, so I'll take like a big rip, and then as I have it in, I'm still inhaling slowly. Ooh, and then I blow it out. That's generally how I take a rip. So it might sometimes look like I'm holding it in, but I'm trying not to, and I'll kind of show you how it is right there. Myth number 3. Here you go. This one's for all my bud tenders in the house, okay? Myth number 3. Indica equals couch lock. Sativa equals party time. What do you guys think? This is for all my bud tenders out there, okay? With all due respect. Okay? Of course, this is all for fun, guys. We're having fun. I'm curious what you think. Because there was a time, I'm telling you, there was a consensus on this. Cheers, guys. So, the answer is kind of like, depends on where you get your genetics. But the reality is that the real effects are coming from the cannabinoids. The real effects are coming from the terpenes. You've got an entourage effect going on. The idea that there is still a sativa and an indica purity to anything is so far gone. It's so far gone unless you're getting some original and authentic genetics, you aren't. You're getting a cross, and this is all due with respect. We've taken hybrids, we've taken sativas, we've taken indicas, we've blended them, we've taken hybrids, we've blended them, we've taken blendeds, and we've done so much work to them that the reality is that now the effect you're getting is coming from an entourage effect. It's coming from all those cannabinoids and some of those, in my opinion, sub qualities of perhaps those original traits of those plants. But it's more of an entourage. It's more of an entourage effect. You're taking in, I like to think of it as like a pH meter. A lot of us are growers, and we've all seen that pH meter where it's like it's got all the strips, it's got all the nutrients there, and it's got like the scale of on the bottom, and it's just like pick your genetic. It's like that. It's like it might have all of them, but they're not all up here. It's like they're all down here in regards to the array. If you're getting everything, you're not getting mind blowns of all of them. You're just getting a little bit of everything. In some case, you got a little more this way, a little lower this way. Sometimes it's like this and nothing in the middle. Something like this, like this. So it's like that's just the genetic itself. So yeah, no, it's that's for my bud tenders out there, because when I walk into a dispensary, I often hear, "What are you looking for? Are you looking for a sativa, or are you looking for an indica?" It's just like, stop it. Please stop. I don't say anything. It's just, I'm not here to educate anybody in the middle of a dispensary, because it is what it is. But the reality is that it's kind of fading, or not kind of fading. It's faded. It's gone. I don't think there's a whole lot. And the thing, you can still argue that there's some of those qualities in the growing aspect of it. Sure. I would argue that you still have some aspects of those traits in the gardening, stretchiness, in a particular aspect, having a more sativa, you've got more bushy as an indica, it's like you might have those traits, but when it comes to the high and all that, no. So anyways, number four, you can fail a drug test from a secondhand smoke. What do you guys think? You can fail a drug test from secondhand smoke. This one's an interesting one. What do you think? Huh? You can fail a drug test from secondhand smoke. What do you guys think? And you know what? Maybe there's no right or wrong answer on this one. What do you guys think? The reality is that in most cases, no. You would have to be in a very severe case. You'd have to pull off a Mr. Grow It in the bathroom, hot boxing the shit out of it. You would probably have some kind of take-in, but the reality is that you would need some kind of boxing in. If you're in a regular situation, if you're out in an environment and someone's blowing smoke, or you can smell it in a movie theater or something, you're not going. No. It would be so minuscule at that point. Like, you've got so many filters going into your nose and stuff. It would probably stop a lot of those intoxicants and so on and so forth. So no, you absolutely cannot. Number 5, CBD will sober you up. Okay? CBD will sober you up from a THC high. Okay? I actually had to do a little reading for this one. Okay? CBD, this is a myth. Is this a myth? CBD will sober you up from a THC high. What do you guys think? Okay? Well, there is actually evidence out there to suggest that it can mellow you out. Like, that you can kind of mellow yourself out. Almost equivalent to like a cold shower, where you're not going to get less high per se, but you can kind of like relax a little bit, rather than going off the edge. You're not going to have an off switch to your THC. It's not going to be like, gone, took some CBD, I'm fine now. But you might be able to like take your high and chill yourself out with a little bit of CBD. That's what studies suggest anyways. So I think that's kind of interesting. So I don't know if anybody would be just tripping balls and somebody would be like, here, eat this. Try this to see if it works. And somebody would be like, no. Can you overdose on weed, people? Can you overdose on weed, people? I had to grab this one. This is a Parent on Pod exclusive. Can you overdose on weed? What do you think? I've actually done a video on this one. I think this is a good conversation to have. The reality is you are not going to die. Nobody is going to die. There's no severity level, whether or not your health is in jeopardy. However, the overdose might come in terms of, people have greened out before. I'm sure you've heard of that term. People have, passed out, gotten tired. My buddies, I used to weed them out all the time. And they used to come over here and smoke a bunch of weed. And then within minutes, they'd be passed out on the couch. And I was like, oh, I thought we were going to watch some movies and play some games. And it's like, I'll watch you play. Shout, Jam. That's my guy. That's my guy. So yeah, there is no death. When you think about it, nobody's going to be foaming at the mouth. But the reality is that you can smoke too much weed, and I would consider that an overdose. You dosed too much. So that's how I would see it. For sure. But that was it. That was my 6. That's a very strange number. I think I got distracted. So I came up with 6. That's my myths. But guys, I am very excited that we are going to be speaking to Mr. Danny Danko in just a few moments. Okay? And I cannot wait to do that. So before I do that, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to have myself a little hoot. And we are going to hear from our... No, I'm not going to have a hoot because I didn't bring any weed over here. So what I'll do is I will have a hoot while we hear from our these brief messages. And then we're going to be talking to Danny Danko. Okay? You guys ready for this? Let's go.
In the arms of the angel, fly away from here, from this dark, cold hotel room, and the endlessness that you fear.
Hi, I'm Pigeons 420. Will you be an angel for an abused plant? Every day, innocent plants are abused, beaten, and neglected, and they're calling for your help. Please visit stashblend.com today and join the nation in helping abused plants get an 8-ounce bag of Stash Blend. That's just $27.70 or 96 cents per day. You'll be helping rescue plants from their abusers and provide nutrition, beneficial bacteria, mycorrhizae, and love. You'll help rescue plants from their abusers. Call or join now, and you'll receive a welcome kit of a photo of a dude impacted by your decision. Order now and change a life. Our little project, our little company, had a very big night. A very big night. But it wasn't complete. Wasn't nearly close to being in the same vicinity as complete. Because I couldn't share it with you. I couldn't hear your voice or laugh about it with you. I miss my wife. We live in a cynical world. And we work in a business of tough competitors.
I miss you. I love you. You complete me. I'm not just as...
Shut up. Just shut up. You had me at Stash Blend.
I never said stash blend.
You had me at Stash Blend.
Okay. But that's for the garden. Beneficial bacteria, humic acid, silica, mycorrhizae. Did you listen to anything I said? Fuck it.
Are you focused on what matters most? Order your stash blend today and enjoy 20% off for $4.20.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest this evening that I am very excited to talk to. We have Mr. Danny Danko. Mr. Danny Danko, thank you for joining us tonight, man. I very much appreciate it.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, and I'm excited to be here.
Absolute pleasure. You've got a very long repertoire of experience in this field of the world of cannabis, and to me, this is a huge moment. I've seen your work, I've read your work, I've seen your podcast, and to be able to sit down, have a conversation, I'm really excited about it, man. So thank you for joining me tonight. I'm very excited.
Thanks for having me. I love the plant, so anything having to do with cannabis, I love to participate in.
I can appreciate that, man. I can appreciate that. So if anyone doesn't know, for anyone who's been underneath a rock, Danny Danko from Writing for High Times, you're an author yourself. You've been in the trunk of a car to get to grows for photography. You've been in some secret gardens. You were in the industry before there was an industry. Tell me just a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, so well, I mean, long story short, I was born in Russia actually, and my family came over when I was very, very young, like 3 years old, in the 70s, and basically I grew up at first we lived in Houston, Texas for a little while, and then moved to Boston, Massachusetts. So I tell people I grew up in Boston. I was there from like age 11 until I graduated college at BU in Boston, and during that time, got involved, with cannabis as a teenager, going to Boston Freedom Rally and just being involved, and then started growing right around that same time, around 17, 18 years old, just out of curiosity, and because a friend of mine had showed me a grow room that he had, a very small closet, and had like just a high quality cannabis at the time, which was hard to find. And when I moved to New York after college, that would have been like 95 or so, then I started getting more heavily involved in growing and even some dealing of some cannabis, and got to know some people in the city. And at the time, High Times was in New York City, where a lot of the publishing was happening. So I got to know some people there, and I started playing for the softball team, and I worked for a hemp company called Headcase. We made hemp baseball hats in New Jersey, and we were like the only two companies on the East Coast that had anything at all to do with cannabis at all at the time. And Normal was in Washington, D.C., so we did have a little bit of this kind of East Coast cannabis vibe going. But again, it was the 90s, and there was no legal cannabis, there was no medical marijuana, and it was still very dangerous, and people would tell you that it'll never be legal. I can't tell you how many times I heard that. And so little by little, I started working at High Times part-time, and then I started working there full-time around 2002, and basically just took it from there. I mean, I started writing. I wanted to do anything to get my foot in the door, basically, because I wanted to be in the cannabis biz legitimately. And yeah, I just started answering the phone, breaking down boxes, doing whatever. And I was also kind of like the in-house cannabis provider in some ways as well, along with a few others. And then, little by little, started writing, writing about cultivation and growing. My coworker, Kyle Cushman, moved to California, and I sort of took over his gig writing. And then in 2011, ended up writing a strain book, the official High Times Field Guide to Marijuana Strains. And then in 2018, I wrote Cannabis, A Beginner's Guide to Growing Marijuana. And in between, sort of just wrote a lot of articles, visited a lot of grows, as you mentioned, traveled all around the world. We would do Amsterdam Cannabis Cup every year. I'd go to Northern California for harvest. I'd go to Vancouver and Barcelona and pretty much all over the United States and Canada, visiting people's grows, big and small, hydro, soil, everything from, small grows to massive facilities. And I also started the Seed Bank Hall of Fame, and I wrote like the top 10 strains of the year and things like that. So that just kind of got me, involved in all of it, and politically, fighting for legalization, and supporting organizations like Freedom Grow and Last Prisoner Project and Normal and MPP, and just, getting involved and being more on the activism side of things as well. And got to see a lot of changes. A lot of things obviously are very different now than they used to be, for better and for worse in some cases, but certainly for better when it comes to people getting locked up and people getting arrested and separated from their families and having their pets murdered in front of them and things like that were just atrocities that happened due to prohibition. So we have come a long way. There's still so far to go and so many hoops to jump through, but it's been an amazing ride. And again, like, not having to live with that fear that we had back then has made all the difference, because I used to grind my teeth when I slept, and it was just, it was a constant fear when you really love the plant and you know that you could get locked up for it at any moment. It was just scary. And I do want younger people to understand that, even with all the over taxation and over regulation and mids and corporations and all the stuff we have to deal with, that's one of the things we have to deal with a lot less these days. And I think it's important to remember.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? It's because of activism that you've continued to do and the work that you've done that guys like me can come into the internet and just kind of, I don't want to say it's a free ride, but it's certainly not what it used to be, because I've listened to you tell stories on other podcasts in regards to working at high times with the threat of the government busting through the door at any time, regardless of the fact that you're essentially protected by the First Amendment. You have the right to free speech, but the reality is that the government could come barging through that door at any moment. That had to be a little unnerving.
Yeah, absolutely. Luckily, at that time the company was owned by lawyers, so we did have a level of protection. But the government did come after us, and the government came after our advertisers even harder. So there was something called Operation Green Merchant, where they came after the hydroponics industry. Then there was Operation Pipe Dreams, where they came after the glass and the pipe manufacturers. And they were just flipping through the magazine, seeing what who was advertising and who to go after, and really just trying to shut us down and really just infiltrate our movement in ways that were very insidious and harmful to that. And now I'm working for Champs trade shows, and we're dealing with the same sort of thing. The government is cracking down on hemp-derived products and THCA products and farm bill exemptions, and it's a constant fight for our freedoms, which is strange because we're supposed to be free to put whatever we want into our bodies and as adults, and it's not be treated like children by our government. And I think it's a shame, and that's not a partisan complaint. I think all government does that, and it's hypocritical for government to interfere into our living rooms, into our bedrooms, into our grow rooms. It really is. And I think real freedom means having the liberty to do what you want, as long as you're not harming anyone else.
You are absolutely correct. And I actually wrote a paper on this when I was graduating from university, how I believe that as citizens, we have the right through our Constitution to cannabis. I can argue that you have the right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness in America. I live in Canada, so it's the right to life, liberty, and security of person. But the reality is that you can funnel cannabis into each and every single one of those rights However, we are still stifled. And do you have any reason? I don't want to get too far into it, but do you have any reason? Do you think you know why? Why is it still so frowned upon by the government? Is it money from exterior forces, influence, reluctance?
I think it's a little bit of everything, but I think that the reason, cannabis is singled out is because it opens your eyes and it makes you think and question your surroundings, question authority, in ways that alcohol does the opposite. It sort of makes for people more docile. It makes them kind of less inclined to ask those questions like, why does it have to be this way?
I agree.
And so I think cannabis and other, psychedelic medicines and things open our eyes. And I think that that doesn't behoove the government to have a population with their eyes open while they're trying to hoodwink us in different ways, large and small. So I think it's a threat to their authority, ultimately. So, of course, the pharmaceutical companies are against it. Of course, the legal system is against it. Of course, the law enforcement and all that. Yes, those things are true. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's an eye opener and they want our eyes closed.
I couldn't agree more, and there's nothing I can add to that. I think you're totally right. Totally right. And not to mention, you've got firearms, alcohol, tobacco, like pharmaceuticals. These are the biggest industries in the world, and cannabis kind of goes against all of those in a way, right? And so, not I don't mean against, but it just would step on the profits of those industries slightly. So I get what I get what you're saying. So I wanted to kind of get into your experience at High Times, because that in alone had to be amazing. I've read a number of articles of yours, and there are people that have told me, so I can't imagine how many people have told you, that High Times was and is the reason that they got into cannabis and are still into cannabis today. How does that feel to be a part of something so monumental, so pivotal in the industry or in the world of cannabis today?
It's amazing. It really is. And that's the oldest brand in cannabis. They should be celebrating their 50-year anniversary right now. They started in 1974. The problem is they've had some issues financially and as far as management and ownership goes. In 2017, they were bought by a group of investors led, primarily by one investor. And everything kind of started going downhill really from there. And to be honest, I'm really proud of the time that I spent there, but I had an amazing 15 years there, and then a pretty crappy 3 years towards the end there, from about 2017 to 2020 was really a trying time for me, for many of the original kind of employees and family that we became over the years. I would say from about 2000 to 2017 was like the golden age. It was just incredible. We had our own floor of a building in New York where we could pretty much run rampant as long as we did what we had to do. A magazine still has to come out, books have to come out, calendars have to come out, all of that, all the work in the business has to happen. But aside from that, we had so much fun. I can't even begin to describe, like I mentioned, going to Amsterdam every year in November for Cannabis Cup. But then around 2010, we started doing, I think 2009 and 10, we started doing Cannabis Cups in the United States. And starting with San Francisco, and then Los Angeles, Denver, Colorado, Michigan. We did a bunch of great events all over the country. And those events really, I think, played a major role in changing people's minds, changing people's attitudes, and getting people involved in, the effort to change the laws and free the plant. Ultimately, it's about this plant that's healing, and it's a flower. All this talk about drugs and narcotics and things. Like, I don't even consider cannabis to fall into that category. To me, this is a healing flower. And it helps people. I can't tell you how many people I've met over the years, whether they were veterans or cancer survivors or people that had HIV and just all these, where they literally with tears in their eyes will tell me that cannabis saved their life and they would not be alive, whether it was post-traumatic stress or wasting syndrome or dealing with chemotherapy or just the stress of life, all these things. It's like it enhances our lives and it makes things feel and seem better for many, many, many people. And so even if it's just to make your day go by better or to watch a movie or whatever it might be, it's an enhancer in that way. And it might not be for everyone, I mean, obviously there's probably people who shouldn't consume cannabis if they're schizophrenic or something along those lines. But there's so many people who have been helped and so few that have had any kind of adverse effects that it's just a no-brainer. To me, it's like it's this amazing thing. So yeah, I mean, getting back to the High Times era, I mean, we had so much fun, but we did it with this cause in mind, and just seeing all the changes happen. It wasn't just High Times, obviously. There was so much else going on, and all the vendors and the companies that participated in the events and volunteers that helped us, and getting to meet my heroes over the years. I mean, Jack Herer and Dr. Lester Grinspoon and all these people who I had read and admired and really looked up to, and then getting to meet them and hang out with them and consume cannabis with them was just the thrill of a lifetime. And so, if that's my legacy, or being part of that, then I'm super duper proud and super excited to talk about it, even with the bad times, the good times, and all of it, the high times.
Yeah, I love it. And you should be proud because it is an incredible journey, and the good and the bad. And I can't fathom to actually see the transition from illegal to legal in the way that you did, the way that you described doing the events from overseas to bringing them home. That must have been incredible to see your own people benefiting from what you were seeing overseas, because it was almost like, because I'm going to be 40 soon. So it's like, I do have a little taste of back when. And the thing is that there's like this perception that weed was legal, I'm going to use my quotations here, in Amsterdam, and that it was all about coffee shops and it was all about that experience, but it was so foreign here. We were so forbidden. So then to all of a sudden start seeing cups and events happening in San Diego and Michigan, that must have been amazing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it kind of creeps up on you. You don't see it happening in real time. It's just, okay, this happened and now this happened. But then now looking back, you can see that like the progression was insane, and like state by state, things changing. And then suddenly, okay, we're going to plant the flag in Denver. Now we're going to do Michigan. And there were some raids and we had some unfortunate experiences there too. But that was the feeling. I mean, I can remember going to Amsterdam in the 90s and having that feeling in a coffee shop, like, wow, I can order cannabis off of a menu and I can be treated like a customer instead of a criminal. And I can just sit here and, roll a joint and watch the bikes go by and just have some breakfast and really have a great time. And to me, that feeling, I didn't want it to be only in one place. I want to bring that home. I want to, I live in New York City, so this is New Amsterdam. I wanted to make it New Amsterdam again, and so it was selfish in a way too, because I want that back home. I want to feel that. I want consumption lounges. I want dispensaries. I want coffee shops where I can chill and just be treated like a human being for, just like anyone else might want to go to a bar or go to, an auto race or whatever they're into. This is what I'm into. And so it's amazing even now, just for me walking around New York and smelling cannabis in the streets everywhere. And I work in a dispensary on Saturdays teaching home grow classes at Convad Yankee Stadium. Wow. So that's a blast. It's right by the baseball stadium in the Bronx, and people can walk in and legally buy a pre-roll, walk outside, light it up right in front of the police, and head into the ball game and enjoy America's pastime. And it's all legal. And then there's the police just standing there, the same ones that would have arrested us for the same thing just 4 or 5 years ago, and now they're protecting us. And I think it's very civilized and the way it should be, and it's what we always wanted. But of
Beautiful.
course, there's still a long way to go. Like I said, there's hoops to jump through, and overtaxing and overregulation, and all these people making laws about cannabis that don't consume cannabis and don't understand it. So certainly still a ways to go, but it is amazing to look back and see how far we've come, on the shoulders of the people who pushed those limits and boundaries, and risked their lives and livelihoods, for this. I mean, people lost transplants, when they were in line for an organ transplant and they test positive for cannabis, and that's a death sentence. So this is a reality. It's not, it used to really piss me off when the media or politicians or whoever would talk about cannabis, and it was always just a munchy jokes, and oh, the you're gonna eat a bunch of Doritos, and it really annoyed me. All the headlines would always say, like, up in smoke, or da da da. It's always like a joke, but it wasn't a joke to me. When you're visiting friends that are locked up in jail, that's not there's no joke there. It's no fun. And when people are uh, harassed and ultimately, like in some cases murdered because they love this plant, it's not funny to me. You know what I mean? It's like it's dead serious when people have a pet, like I said earlier, you have a dog that's protecting their home, from a completely unreasonable raid, and they get shot right in front of your kids. There's no joke there. That's a very, very, very serious situation. So it would piss me off sometimes, and even when people would tell me it'll never be legal, the government won't allow it, the cartels won't allow it, the pharmaceuticals won't allow it. It's such a self-defeating kind of prophecy from them, and that would piss me off too, because this is what we're fighting for, and if you're not fighting for it, then what are you doing? You know, in the future, all those atrocities that don't happen, it's impossible to measure. But think about, like, the raids that don't happen, the people that aren't getting locked up, the people are becoming millionaires now, off of this plant. But there's still people locked up too. So we're in this weird transitionary period where we have to keep the pedal to the metal, keep the fight going until we're truly free.
You're 100% right. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the atrocities, because they cannot be forgotten. It cannot be forgotten. Those names, those people, those stories, those families, they need to be remembered, because it's so outrageous and it's an atrocity that this happened to them. And we are essentially building on the backs of them. And I think it's very important that homage is paid and we understand the fight and the battle. One thing that, like, when I do you think that the federal government will legalize, or more importantly, should they? Like, in my opinion, the federal government shouldn't even have their hands in this issue. It shouldn't be. However, it is, with the scheduling and the way that it's listed. Do you see the federal government shifting anytime soon?
I mean, I hope so. I truly hope so.
Fair.
I do think that something has to give, because uh, on the federal side, that's where interstate trafficking can occur. You know what I mean? Right now, we're going state by state. In New York, everything we consume technically, legally, has to be produced in New York. And I don't think that's fair. I think that we should be allowed to consume whatever is created out there, that we want. And so if it's from California, then so be it. But I think we should have the right to grow our own, which we do, but we have plant limits, and it's pretty strict, 6 per person, 12 per household, and things like that, which I think is silly too. I've never understood why how they could make an ounce legal, but a pound is illegal. It's like, where do they think an ounce comes from?
Right,
You know
right.
what I mean? But but everything is all baby steps. It's always been 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's just kind of how glacial change happens. I will never forget. For me, it was reading a book called Shattered Lives, which was by Chris Conrad, and Mickey Norris, and it was all just stories of people who had their lives destroyed by prohibition. That and The Emperor Wears No Clothes by Jack. We called that The Hemperor. Those books turned me from basically just like a cannabis user to a cannabis lifer, someone who just could not sit back and allow this prohibition to continue to exist in the way that it did back then and in the way that it still does to a certain extent. So I do think that there needs to be a federal change made just as far as the scheduling should be. I mean, cannabis does not belong on any schedule at all. Schedule 3 is there with a lot of very harmful things. And alcohol's not on a schedule. Tobacco's not on a schedule. And I would say cannabis is far safer than alcohol and tobacco. And I think it's pretty obvious to anyone, even people who don't consume. So to me, it should just be descheduled. It should be treated basically like tea, in my opinion. It's like, okay, kids aren't supposed to really be drinking tea because of the caffeine or whatever, but the reality is they might, and it's not going to kill them. And so to me, it should be basically along those lines, something that like tomatoes.
I totally
Right?
agree. I totally agree with you. I've always said that it's like a vitamin, if
Right.
it's a super vitamin in my opinion. There's no different. It shouldn't be behind a counter. It should be accessible. It should be available, and that's it. It should not be on the schedule list at all. And I don't like the conversation of rescheduling when people get excited about it. This is wool over our eyes for us to argue about something that shouldn't even be argued about.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it's hard because, like I said, these things happen incrementally. So,
Sure.
will the government deschedule? Probably not. Will they move it to Schedule 3? Probably. And is that a good thing? Ultimately, it's better than Schedule 1, right? I mean, it sucks, and it's not what we want, but it is a step in that direction. In the same way that medical marijuana, and I think what I loved about the medical marijuana situation was that's getting the wounded off the battlefield. Basically, it's like, all right, you're going to call this a war on us, a war on cannabis. All right, fine, then it's a war. Now we're on opposite sides of a war, but can we just remove the wounded from the battlefield? So to me, that's kind of like the medical side of things. Okay, these are people who clearly benefit from cannabis. Let's create a loophole for them so that they can use medicinally, and then we'll worry about adult use and what they call recreational use, which I call just adult use. And so there are battles, and then there's the war. And so I do think the scheduling thing, as much as I don't want to see it at Schedule 3, I'd prefer to see it off the schedule altogether. It's still a step in the right direction, which is descheduling. So I'm not anti that, in the way that some people are like all or nothing. In politics, you take what you can get. It's the art of, compromise in some ways. And the older I get, the more I understand that that's just kind of the way it is, and it sucks, but it's something to deal with. And so, at the same time, the state by state thing has made tremendous progress, and now because of that, the whole world is changing their thoughts, because we were the ones driving this war even in other countries. We wouldn't have deals with the EU unless they crack down on cannabis, and so now they can loosen as well. And so I think it is important. I mean, what we've seen in Thailand is just mind-blowing. They went from like death penalty for cannabis to fully legal overnight almost, and that.
And there's weed everywhere, everywhere
yeah,
in Thailand.
yeah,
And it should be.
yeah, and there should be, and traditionally they've had that before, but they crack down because we forced them to crack down, and now that we're not doing that, they can actually benefit and loosen that up, and actually have tourism and a whole industry making millions of dollars there. And so, like I said, we've come a long way. I do think, it's important to remember the past, but also to move forward and to keep things progressing.
I agree with you. I get a lot of flack because I'm from Canada and I spend a lot of time paying attention to American politics. And the same answer I give every time is the reality is America is a power player. And when she dances, the world watches. And it's no lie. It's a fact that America is responsible for the prohibition of cannabis on an international stage. And it is only that way because of America. And so if America flinches and starts to go towards legalization, of course the world will do it as well. I argue the only reason Canada went legal is because you had Oregon, Washington, California, you had all of these states that were legal, and we kind of looked at them and were like, all right, okay. You know, there's a lot more politics involved in it, obviously, but it's because there was movement. So that's why I pay attention so close to American politics, because I want to see what happens. We kind of have a direct impact on the decisions she makes. So yes, I agree with you. Any movement is good movement.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's not always, you don't always get what you want,
No, that's
but
fair.
you keep things moving, and over time things clearly change. Because like I said, in the last 30 years, that I've been a part of, almost 30 years in the cannabis space, they want to call it, there's been a tremendous amount of change, and like where there were just a few brands and a few people willing to put their head up above
Right.
the surface. Now it's wide open and people are making tons of money, and there's all kinds of stuff happening, and some things that I'm not always super psyched on either, like spray packs and things like that, and but again, we're all adults, and people can, as long as people are informed about what they're doing, they're allowed to do it. So that's been one of the interesting things about working for Champs trade shows too, is that it's about more than just cannabis. I mean, I'm there to help with the cultivation side. We have Luna now, Luna Stour, working on the mycology side. But basically, anything that people want to put in their bodies on their own is part of it, and that's what we're all about. It's about freedom, and it's about choice, and having that freedom of choice that we should have as adults.
That's fair. And I agree. It starts with compromise. One little bit at a time. Danny, you got to talk to me about what it was like to be in the 90s, going through gardens that are top secret. You were hidden in trunks, blindfolded, so people wouldn't know your location. What was it like to tour a garden like that? Because today is much different. I don't know if there's too many places like that in America. There are.
No, it's wild. And yeah, like you said, I had to do a lot of that stuff, but I was happy to do it because honestly, like, I don't want to know where the place was. Like, I didn't, I don't, if anything should happen down the road, I wanted that plausible deniability that, hey, I don't even know where that was, And like I said, we were run by lawyers, so they were pretty adamant about, like, safety, first, be smart, and things like that. But yeah, I got to see a lot of that stuff, and I had to learn how to take pictures too, because a lot of times the growers don't want me to bring a photographer into their space as well. They barely wanted me coming, so I had to learn a bunch of skills on the fly too, because shooting grow rooms under high pressure sodium lighting and white balancing and all of that, if you come back without the pictures, you really don't have the story. And so I really had to learn a lot of things on the fly, and going to see those gardens where you had to basically convince people to even allow you to see them, what's in it for them, kind of thing. To now, I mean, I visited a garden in Hawaii a couple of years back where I had to get an FBI background check. Like, I literally, anyone visiting a garden in Hawaii has to go through a background check with fingerprints and everything. So I went from, like, clandestinely, like, hopping in the trunk of a car to visit a garden to actually applying with the FBI for permission to visit a garden. So it's wild to think how much that changed, and the size of the gardens. My God, I mean, in the 90s, 8 or 16 lights was like a huge grow, and now I've seen 1,000 light grows, and even bigger ones in some cases. In Canada, I saw almost a million acre 800,000 square foot facility at one point where we flew over it in a helicopter to see the whole thing. So the size of the facilities has grown, but one thing I have learned though is that the best grows are not those those massive 800 square foot facilities. The best ones are the 5x5 tents and the smaller grows where the grower can actually pay attention to each plant and really put the effort and love into each
So
individual
some
plant.
things haven't changed.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the quality is always better in the smaller grows. That's one thing I haven't I haven't seen uh, scale up, in that way where these huge facilities can grow the highest quality. So it's interesting, and I like to tell people too, like even if you're limited in plant numbers, typically you're not limited in plant sizes. So those 6 plants could be each one of those plants could be vegged out for a longer period of time and yield a lot more than expected. So you're limited in the amount of plants, but not the size of the plants. So just bigger containers, longer veg times, and bigger plants.
Play the game, man. Play the game. That's what it's about. I really like how you said the limits the plants, the plant count, not the plant size. That's very important. Cause we can get some pretty massive canopies. Are you still growing today?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's legal in New York. Like I said, 6 plants per person, 12 per household. So I don't have to fear. I have a roof deck, actually right above where I'm where I'm sitting now, where I put some plant. I really truly think this plant. I mean, I don't even. I think a lot of people would agree. The plant wants to grow in full sun. Uh, the whole idea of growing it indoors is because of prohibition. So without that, let's take advantage of the great big grow light in the sky, and just let the plant thrive. I think that the terp profiles you get from sunshine can't really be duplicated indoors. Obviously, indoors has its pros and cons, and there's incredible indoor cannabis, of course. I'm not naive to that, but I do think ultimately the plant wants to grow in sunshine. I think the ultimate solution is a greenhouse, and you could grow year round in a greenhouse if you have light deprivation and light supplementation, and you can heat the greenhouse if you're in colder areas like Canada. I've seen tropical plants growing in greenhouses in Maine with snow on the ground outside. As long as you can keep them warm and lit, you can grow plants year round and take advantage of sunshine when you've got it, and lights when you need them, and heaters if necessary. But man, it's there's nothing like your own personal homegrown, and people who grow their own understand that feeling of like that consuming the product that you created is there's nothing like it.
You're absolutely right. And the same thing, I've traveled across my country and a little bit across America, and it, it stands to say the same that home grow dominates. It's just that passion, it's that desire for quality that really stands true in the home grower, that even though I think may stand true to anyone who's on a bigger scale, it's just quality control is so difficult. All it takes is even just a patch of dead air in a big facility and you've got subpar results. It doesn't take a genius to grow good cannabis, but it's not easy to grow good cannabis. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And what sets it apart too, it's the care taken past harvest too. I mean, it's the drying process, the curing process, storage process. And when you grow in bulk, you just don't, the flushing the plants towards the end, just whether they're organic or hydro or whatever it might be, you still just want to clean, burn, you want that white ash, you want a good experience. I want to taste, I smoke joints for the most part, so I want to taste it even halfway through. I don't want it to just be smoke and harsh and have to keep relighting a joint. So, I do think overfeeding runs rampant in most cannabis facilities. I think most plants are overfed, and you'll see even in High Times pictures, the burnt leaf tips and things. The plant's not dead. It looks beautiful, but it's overfed. And I believe lighter feeding is important for quality purposes, flushing, drying, and curing. And those are things that don't seem to happen in larger facilities and grows that are massive. And it's one thing if you're doing that for biomass and you're going to produce gummies or distillate or something, but the true flower connoisseurs that like to smoke they just want the highest quality, and I think you get that with homegrown.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And I'm glad that you had the opportunity to go into some of these like secret underground gardens to get that information, because it's that information that you essentially wrote about that got into the hands of home growers that would fuel their passion to start doing this, to start doing this. It's like you said that, cannabis has saved a lot of people. And I have a T-shirt on my shop that says "Music raised me, cannabis saved me," because the reality is that I grew up without much of a role model or male figure in my life, so I had to resort to music to kind of find that guidance. And naturally, I had a lot of behavioral issues because nobody was. Now I can point fingers, but not having a good, solid male role model in my life is pretty much the main attributor to that. But cannabis allowed me to like be retrospective, to kind of take a look at who I am, what I'm doing, slow down. Suffered from ADHD, and just being able to think outside the box, to be able to slow down and focus. I attribute a lot of my successes today to the fact that cannabis has allowed me to be the best version of myself, whether it's a father, whether it's a man, whether it's a citizen, a volunteer, and I'm eternally thankful for that. So I feel like with half the amount of experience as yourself, I feel like a passion inside me to share this message with as many people as possible. I don't know about yourself, but it's like I'm not interested in arguing with somebody. If someone's dead set about cannabis being the devil's lettuce, and I don't really want to waste my time in trying to argue with them. I much rather open the eyes of someone who's struggling with sleep, struggling with an ailment, that doesn't know about weed as an option. That's far more productive in my books. And that's something I want to focus on way more than arguing with someone who doesn't get it. Because I'm sure you're on Twitter. I'm sure you see all of the nonsense that is out there about just the rhetoric about weed.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I try not to even entertain it, you know what I mean? Because it just amplifies their message in some ways, where
You're right.
I think, getting engaged in that, even getting engaged in that argument, justifies their argument. And I think ultimately we're right and they're wrong. And I'm not going to just waste time trying to convince them. Like you said, it's like, it's obvious. I mean, compare that, what you just described about being a better person and being more introspective, compare that with someone if they were choosing to use alcohol instead of cannabis, and what the difference is, and generationally what that means to them as a father, as a parent, like I said, as a child of someone would you rather be a child of an alcoholic or a cannabis user? Would you rather? I mean, there's no argument. There's
You're right.
no discussion. So to me, it's fairly obvious, and yeah, I try, and whenever I see stuff like that, my first instinct is I want to reply to this and say that, da da da, and then I'm like, you know what? Ignoring it is probably ultimately better, at least from my perspective, than engaging in it, because it dies in ignorance, like not ignorance, but ignoring it
You're
rather
right.
than amplifying.
I th-
I don't know. It's like that for me with a lot of political stuff. I'm just like, you know what? I can't just even having this discussion is beneath me. You
I
know
get
what I
it.
mean?
I
Like,
get it.
it's the same if somebody tells me that the earth is flat, I'm like, I can't
I'm
really
not
even
having this
talk to you.
conversation.
Yeah, I'm not even having the conversation. I'm not arguing that the earth is round, and that's not something I'm going to do. It's so patently obvious that it's not something I even want to waste breath involved in. And so it's the same with the prohibitionists. They're wrong, we're right, and I don't want to even engage with them in an argument because they're wrong and we're right.
That's
And
it.
it's obvious.
It's obvious. It is obvious.
You
That's
know,
that's the
and
truth.
the other side is, we're having fun. Our parties are a lot funner than their parties. Believe me, I've done the research. and we're having a lot more fun than they are.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No, and that's a great way to go about it. You can't argue with stupid is kind of how it goes. The reality is like, then I think you're stupid. You know, it's like, if you're going to argue with it, then what are you doing? And I like that you said that I'm not even going to entertain it. No, that's good, because we're right and you're wrong, and it's obvious. The science is out there, and it's overwhelming, and it's refreshing to see too that more and more studies are reiterating what we've known to be true the whole time. So it's like when another story comes out and it's like, it turns out that, you know, it is cancer. There are properties of cannabis that can be effective against treating forms of cancer and its negative repercussions. It's like, we knew this a long time ago, you know, and I think that's important. One thing I kind of want to ask you too is, like, I'm a father. Do you have kids?
I do.
You do?
I have a 14-year-old son. Yeah.
Oh, okay. We have the same age. My boy's gonna be 14 tomorrow.
Oh.
And have you ever struggled with incorporating the lifestyle of cannabis with family?
Yes, over the years, absolutely. I mean, for years, I wouldn't really even discuss it because, you know, they can take your child away in those days. And it was really, you know, an issue. Now, luckily, you know, it's legal and where I am, and I don't have to worry so much about that. But yes, it's always difficult. I mean, especially for parents, it's like, you know, how do you talk to your kids about it? How do you, especially if you're known for it, you know what I mean? It's not something you can hide. So yeah, over the years it's been a struggle, but I think honesty is the best policy. I think it's important. Kids aren't stupid. They know, they see things that we don't, you know, necessarily know that they see, and you can't be a hypocrite and you know, say one thing and do another, or act one way and in front of your kids and in a different way elsewhere. So, you know, I think ultimately it's just, you got to be honest, and I'm not, there's no shame. I'm not, you know, I don't feel shame about it. The only thing was the fear that something might happen, and then in the absence of that fear, people really shouldn't be ashamed at all. I mean, I tell people all the time, don't let anyone shame you for cannabis use. You know, it's silly, and you know, ultimately this has larger repercussions throughout the world. I mean, just us shifting closer to living soil, I think, for growing is going to hopefully cause a shift in food production to living soil, and our produce, our vegetables and our fruits should all be produced with living soil instead of in these factory farms that have this tremendous amount of blowback, you know, and are harmful to the environment. We can improve the soil. We can improve it year after year and use less and less inputs. And that's not just for cannabis. That has global repercussions to saving the planet. So, you know, it's bigger than just the plant. It's like a whole, you know, it's a whole ethos, you know, of sustainability and higher quality produce and products in our bodies.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that honesty is the best policy. There's always stories about children getting access to cannabis, or having access, or consumption going up with legalization and amongst children. And you know, perhaps this is a legitimate concern. And I think it would be foolish for us to just brush over it and think, everything's fine. But the thing is that I put the onus on the parents every single time, that it is not up to the government, it's not up to shop owners, it's up to parents to teach their children right and wrong. And for me, you know, I've always taught my son that there are adult things and there's kid things. There's adult drinks, there's kid drinks. There's adult movies, there's kid movies. There's adult foods, and the same thing goes when there's weed in the house. This is just dad's medication. This is adult stuff, and you know, it's best if children don't use it, particularly if they don't smoke it while they're young, because I think the science is kind of I don't know, sufficient to suggest that if adolescents smoke weed, it can be damaging to the neurons in the brain. I think that's fair, but I don't think it's a good argument to say that children shouldn't have access to cannabis, because there's plenty of examples of children with epilepsy or severe, what the heck, or severe whatever it is, nausea, recovering from chemo, so on and so forth. Kids can benefit from cannabis. And I think it's important that you said honesty is the best policy, but it's up to parents to teach our kids that there's a time and a place. And I feel like that gets ignored more than ever.
Yeah, I mean, lying to them is just going to push them away and push them into harder things. And that's what they talk about, this gateway drug theory. It's so ridiculous, because you can say the same thing about sugar or anything else, and sugar is more harmful to kids than cannabis, in my opinion. Uh, and that whole idea that, if you lied to them about cannabis, then sure, they're going to think that you're lying about fentanyl or cocaine or pharmaceuticals or anything else. So if you're honest with them, and you make that separation, which I think, I learned in Holland that they have soft drugs and hard drugs, and they have that separation. And I think that's an important separation to make. And what's funny is Dutch kids, they don't even think smoking cannabis is cool at all. Like, that's what tourists and old people do. So they're, it's a whole different kind of vibe to them. And I think, we could benefit from that as well. It's like making it clandestine and illegal actually maybe kind of, I'm far more worried. Like I said, I have a 14-year-old. I'm far more worried about vaping, about fentanyl, about all the other stuff that he's exposed to out there in the world. Yeah, I mean, it's just insane what kids are exposed to, and cannabis is ultimately the least of my worries in that regard. So, it's hypocritical to lump it in with all these other things, because it's just so different that doesn't belong in that category.
I totally agree. Much worse things to worry about. When we're at a restaurant, like my kid does, like we don't really allow pop in our house too much, like soda. And when we go to a restaurant, it's like free refills. Like the waitress will just come over and be like, you want pop? You want more? You want more? It's like, we'll give them one. We're like, hey, you can have one Sprite or something. And then they're like, refill. It's like, no, don't do that. How were your parents? You said you consumed early. How were your parents with it?
They were not happy. I mean, again, they were from the Soviet Union, where
That's fair.
Marijuana could have been the same as heroin. They could not even tell the difference. And if it's illegal, it's bad, and if it's bad, it's illegal, and that's that. There was no discussions. And I mean, I was basically kicked out of the house at like 17, 18 years old, not kicked out, but asked kindly to get out and leave and live on my own. And I did. I mean, it wasn't, I could always go home, and it wasn't like I was estranged from my family, but they did not want cannabis in the house. They did not want scales in the house. They certainly didn't want plants growing in the house. So, I was on my own. But again, I also never asked them for money or anything after that either. And ultimately now, my mother's still alive. She's in her mid 80s now, and she uses cannabis to help her sleep.
Of course.
And we've smoked together, and she finds it, kind of silly that it was ever even a big deal, which is ultimately what you find out when people who are anti something happens in their lives, someone in their life gets cancer, or they get older and they using cannabis for arthritis, whatever it might be. Suddenly their minds change, but it has to affect them personally for that change to happen. And I think one of the great things about it being legal is that block that they've had. Okay, it's illegal, I'm not doing it, is gone. And now that the stigma that they would have felt isn't there as strongly as it would be, and they're more likely to use it to benefit themselves. And I think that ultimately is a great thing.
I totally agree. Same thing in our family. My father and mother-in-law were the exact same. Hard against it, not necessarily hard against it per se, but just not in favor of it. The moment Canada went legal in 2018, it was just like all of a sudden, the blindfold was off, and it was like, there it is. Okay, I'm all about it. It is now legal, and it was just, I can't blame anyone for that. because you're putting way too much at risk for something that you know nothing about. If they didn't use it and it was just this idea, this notion, I can't blame anyone for that. And it angers me that so many people are held back by just the law, and you can't fault them for it.
Yeah, no, that stigma is real, and it really, I mean, there were people who didn't want, parents of friends that wouldn't let their friends hang out with me, or didn't want me in the wedding, or all different ways that you could feel that stigma, and that thing is real, and it's fading, but it's still there. So people still have that idea that somehow we're dirtbags because we smoke pot and we're doing dope, and all these kind of notions that they have about it. And that's why I try, as a writer, I have to use all the words. So I'll say marijuana, I'll say weed, I'll say whatever. I don't like to say dope, because to me that dope is something different.
Right.
And it's the old timers. That's an old timer word, like grass, but I do think reshifting the frame, and using words like cannabis, and teaching people about the endocannabinoid system. Most people don't even know that, like, there's receptors in your body for this. It's not like, what I mean? There's a reason we love it, and our bodies need it, and it's in breast milk, and people's minds are blown when you tell them that. And then I'm like, no, don't believe me, and it's not a conspiracy. Look it up for yourself. I'm not trying to convince you, but like, Google it.
And what's crazy to me, and you mentioned
there's nothing like that for alcohol. There's nothing like that for those other things.
No,
there's no receptors in our body for that.
And to think, for the last 100 years, humans have had almost no access to cannabinoids, in a way that civilization has been utilizing cannabinoids for millennia, and we stopped it hardcore, like a tolerance break in the 1930s. And we've been on a 100-year tolerance break. And it's like, I honestly feel like we depleted ourselves. No wonder we are highly stressed. We're overworked. We're anxious. We're nervous as a human as a human race. It's like, I honestly feel like we eliminated one of the key elements of making those feelings dissipate and go away, and how to deal with them. So for 100 years, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that we haven't had our endocannabinoid system tapped into in a way that it was, in my opinion, designed to do what it was designed to do. That's incredible.
Look at the things that have run rampant in the 100 years. I mean, obesity levels, addiction levels to things, overdoses, suicides. I implore people, if you have anyone in your life who's suffering from any addiction, alcohol, dependency on opiates, whatever it might be, or they're feeling suicidal, depression, ADHD, as you mentioned, all these things, try cannabis. Before you give up, try it. Give it a shot. Because, like I said, many people I've met, it's saved their life. They wouldn't be here without it. And whether that was veterans or seniors or kids that had epilepsy, like you mentioned, people going through chemo that can't eat and hold down food, cannabis is a lifesaver in some cases. So before you give up, give it a try, and implore your friend or family member or whoever your loved one is who is suffering to try it, because it can help, and it might help, and it's worth a shot.
Very well said. Very well said. What are some of your favorite strains of today?
Wow. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of strains that are popular that are these days that are kind of on the candy side of things. And I like those strains too. I mean, obviously there's lemon cherry gelato, very popular. I just think, I like a variety of flavors, and I tend to prefer sort of the gassy fuel kind of strains, in particular the sours and the kushes and the chems and things. But some of my favorite strains are sativa dominant strains like strawberry cough and super lemon haze. So it's really kind of situational, daytime I like the sativas, nighttime I like the indicas. Even that whole sativa indica thing is it's a little bit of a I don't say it's like a falsehood, but it's an oversimplification of a much more complicated sort of thing with all the different terpene profiles and flavonoids and cannabinoids and all that. But there is certainly something to it. There's um, strains that are more enjoyable during the day and more energetic and sort of insightful. And for me, like those are great for inspiration. And then when I want to relax and just chill, and then I go for the gassier ones. But then let me see. Trop cookies is so
Oh,
popular.
it is.
I was in Spain, in Barcelona, judging the Organic Cup, and it seemed like you know, probably 80% of the strains that were entered were some type of trop cookies or lemon cherry gelato kind of flavors. And they stand out because that candy, sort of sweet, Skittles kind of uh, scent is strong and loud. But some of my favorite strains are not super loud or even all that pretty, like Nigerian Silk and some of the African sativa dominant hybrids, Durban Poison and Nigerian and Congolese. They're not pretty and they're pretty wispy, and growers hate growing them because they take forever to flower and they don't weigh much. But man, the effect is just like almost psychedelic and completely electric in some cases. Um, and the older I get, the more I can appreciate that.
I, you and I have a very similar palette. It must be amazing to be in your shoes where it's like you've seen the evolution of genetics. It's kind of like built on the backs of some of all these originals. You would have like taken pictures of the Congolese or taken pictures of the haze, and then seen today the mixtures, the cookies, the GMOs, the gelato, all these crosses that have just come so far. That's got to be incredible to just see the evolution of that.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. The building blocks are and the foundation happened, centuries ago with the land races and inbred lines from all these regions. The plant basically adapts to wherever you bring it. So if you bring it to the equator, it's going to adapt. If you bring it to the mountains, it's going to adapt. And all those adaptations change the terp profile, the flavor, the flowering time, the leaf size, and all of that. So even the book that I wrote in 2011, the Field Guide to Marijuana Strains, like it's dated now, and that's less than 15 years ago. But those are like the building blocks of the polyhybrids that we're smoking now. But there was an issue, of course, of bottleneck genetics for a while because of prohibition, and because there were certain people who were pioneers like Soma and Skunkman Sam and Neville, and people who had brought the genetics to Amsterdam to basically preserve what was left, and then there was sort of a movement to sort of get out there and find those land races. So people started traveling and going to Africa and India, and trying to get the seeds from those original places. And sadly, some of those places are war torn now. Some of the traditional hash producing regions, like Afghanistan and the Middle East in general, and North Africa. Those are places where people have been making hash for thousands of years. And they've been growing those plants specifically for that purpose, and choosing over millennia all those, the plants with the most gland heads and the most flavorful for them to make the hash out of. And then in Southeast Asia, people were choosing for different purposes, for teas and things, and that's why you would wind up with things that were a bit more wispy, but more about the effect, like the Southeast Asian, like I said, the Highland Thai and Lowland Thai and Vietnamese strains that tend to also herm out a little more, than the indicas, but at the same time provide different nuances and flavors and profiles. So yeah, it's been amazing, and I think there's still a long way to go. Every time you pop a seed, there's that opportunity to find something new, particularly with regular seeds, a little less so with feminized or autos and things. But there's still stuff out there, still things to discover, and that's exciting, that we're just scratching the surface of what this plant can do.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I totally agree with you that I think this is, although I think this is still the beginning. I still think we are still so early on finding the greatest one. As a home grower myself, I'm on that journey to find that great smoke. And I haven't found, like, I found a lot of great smokes, but that journey continues. And I think you're right. We're at a very infant stage of breeding, because although there's way more breeders than there were yesteryear, there are still so many more breeders to come in regards to breeding good genetics.
Yeah, and
Go
those
ahead.
those new things, the new things that you want to find are things that are crosses of two things that are very different from each other. And this is how I learned that, nature promotes diversity, is that those things come from two things that are not the same but different, and so something new can be achieved. And I think that's an important thing to understand, whether you're breeding with plants or people or fruits or vegetables or anything else. There are new things out there, but they are the result of different things crossing, and yeah, just keep
Opposites
on popping
attract.
seeds.
Opposites
I mean,
attract.
the fact that we have this plant where, from one region it could suppress your appetite, and from another region it could increase your appetite. It's like a dream for a pharmaceutical company to discover something like that, and yet they've been holding it back for so long. So, well, once they get a hold of it too, like, the science, I'm not always completely opposed to the scientists getting involved and working with it, because there are plenty of things to discover, and we do need to find those things. And like Dr. Lester Grinspoon said, one day, the prohibition will be looked at as a complete folly, and just one of the biggest mistakes of the 20th century. And at the same time, cannabis will be viewed as almost like penicillin, when it comes to the miraculous effects that you can get from this one thing that can really save humanity, hopefully. I mean, we speak about it in such lofty terms, but it's actually true. Like, hemp and cannabis can save the world if we let it.
If without even getting into how incremental or how crucial hemp was to society, or to the world pre, the 1900s, and then to think about how we've depleted ourselves in regards to our endocannabinoid system. I think when we talk about being, or when we think lofty and talk about saving the world, I think it's a legitimate argument. I think it's a legitimate conversation that we have deprived ourselves of something with such incredible healing power for so long, that we are going to change our makeup when we start to use it in a way that utilizes the best parts of our makeup, of our human makeup. So I think it sure sounds lofty, but I think it's a very valid argument, to be honest.
Yeah.
You have your own podcast too. I wanted to touch on that for a minute. The Grow Your Own Bud. Yes.
Yeah, grow bud yourself. Yeah,
Grow
yeah.
Bud Yourself. Sorry.
Grow bud yourself. I used to be called Free Weed. When I started in
That's right.
2011, I started a podcast when I was at High Times called Free Weed from Danny Danko, and then I did have to change the name after parting ways with the magazine, but I changed the name to Grow Bud Yourself. I love the name Free Weed, but it's the same idea. It's like, hey, you can create this thing out of thin air. I call it modern day alchemy. You can take seeds and water and light and food and create this amazing medicine and feed your soul and your endocannabinoid system. And so the best way is to grow it yourself, in my opinion, or get it supplied by someone who is growing it themselves and living soil and things like that. So yeah, I just try to encourage people. It's been on hiatus for a few months, to be honest. Since I started the gig at Champs, I've been pretty busy. And I lost my location where I was filming. I started filming and doing live video podcasts, and sadly the location closed. So I'm looking for, sponsors, looking for a venue where, a smoke-friendly venue where we can interview people, and hopefully bring it out of hiatus and bring it back. But yes, I'm proud of it. We've done over 120 something episodes of Grow Bud Yourself. We had about 170 7 or 8 of the Free Weed Show, and I mean, I interviewed Lester Grinspoon. I had many people who we've lost since, Subcool, The Breeder,
Rest in peace.
a lot of amazing people were on the show telling their stories, giving their grow tips and secrets, and so I'm proud of it. It's a legacy of a lot of amazing, like I said, just talks and interviews and conversations that I've had with people, growers, breeders, people on the political side, activists, but really just focusing on the plant and everything that it's able to give us. Ultimately, there's a lot of people who kind of use the plant to promote themselves, and I kind of just want to promote the plant. And if that helps, then that's great. But it's not about me or anyone, Jack or Lester, who it's just about the plant, and we're all basically just giving back to the plant what it's given to us. At the end of the day, that's the most important thing to me, is just promoting this healing flower.
You know what? And I think that's why people like Jack, people like yourself, people like Mr. Watson, Skunkman Sam, the reason they stand out is because their selflessness, their desire to push the plant no matter what. And that stands true ahead of anything else. And I thank you. I thank you, because it's people like yourself, as I said at the top of the show, that allowed a path for me to follow almost seamlessly. Of course, it's not. We still deal with the suppressions of high media and the suppressions of our, just simply our message, but not. I almost fear zero prosecution, fear of prosecution, which is amazing, which allows me to create in a way that I feel that people were not able to do because of that fear. It consumed them. So now I get to be a creative. I get to do what so many others could not, and it's because of people like yourself. So thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. If you don't hear it, you certainly deserve it. I appreciate it.
Thanks, I appreciate that too. And it's sad to see what companies like YouTube and Instagram are doing to content creators like you guys, just really holding you back and discriminating against you for something that's illegal. And you're doing it out of Canada where it's legal, and yet still they're suppressing that information because it's fearsome. They're afraid of this plant. It was just so silly, and it would be amusing if it was like a made up story, but it's real, and it's crazy to think that they're really holding it back for because they're afraid of a plant.
Somebody is. Now, of course, it's hard for me to even to discuss it because it doesn't feel like it's as pressing issue as what people have really gone through for this plant. But the reality is they've just now shifted the way of prosecution to affecting your wallet, affecting your career, your reputation. They just find other ways of prosecuting you is kind of how I feel now, rather than just throwing you in a jail and or the myriad of other ways that they used to do it. It's just another way. But I think it's important to adapt, overcome, and use these platforms. It's their playground, man. It's their house, right? So the reality is that I'm here because they've allowed me to be here. And yet I'm in their living room screaming about weed, and they still let me be here. So that's the bright light, is that I'm in their square and I'm screaming, and I will continue to scream my message for as many people to hear me. And you just use it to your advantage. If anybody wanted to follow you, Danny, if anybody wanted to reach you, get in touch with you, where could they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter or X, whatever, Danny Danko. Everywhere, Facebook, Instagram is Danny Danko HT, because I had to change it at one point. I lost the original Danny Danko one, and like everyone else has been through, being shadow banned, being deleted, and all of that. But yeah, I'm out there. I'm on LinkedIn if anyone's interested. I'm also with Champs Trade Shows, and we have shows coming up in Atlantic City and Chicago, our big summer show in Las Vegas. And again, there's going to be cultivation sections, mycology, we've got seed companies, nutrient brands, lighting, we've got it all. And yeah, I'm just excited to be out here, promoting cannabis, promoting champs, and keeping the dream alive and keeping the fight going, so that future generations don't have to deal with what we dealt with, and also understand, um, you know, where we've come from and where we're going.
Dude,
That's why it's great to have people like you guys, you and everyone that's younger coming up and doing the same thing, and pushing hard, and in ways, and reaching people on platforms that we don't even know about, which is
you're
great.
right. Yeah. Hey, you know what? I can appreciate the appreciation, and it, it's incredible. You're so many years into this, and I look to you as a role model in regards to I'm 5 years into this is my job. This has become a career for me. The plant has afforded me the ability to provide for my family in a way that I never experienced before. And it is a blessing and a dream to be able to call this mission a job and a lifestyle. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing. And I can't imagine how it feels for you to be doing this for so long, man. So thank you. Thank you for sharing your story with me, Danny. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Many
Thanks so much for
blessings.
having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Danny, and all your journeys. I wish you nothing but success and blessings, and I can't wait till we get to smoke a joint in person.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
So
Danny.
much.
Take care, my man. Peace. Wow. That was epic, guys. Huge shout out to Danny for pulling up. That was amazing. I just can't. I've said this a couple times in regards to there's a feeling that you get when you have the opportunity to sit down with somebody with such poise, such wisdom and experience, that it's like you feel like you're amongst royalty sometimes. I started this interview very, very nervous, and man, very quickly Danny's just very humble. He's very kind and very well spoken. It just he has a way of making you feel very warm and welcome. So huge shout out to Danny. Thanks for making my night. I appreciate that. We're going to get to an outro right after these messages.
Come on and lift your glass. You won your own free pass to be our guest. If you're stressed, it's fine dining we suggest. Be our guest, be our guest, be our guest.
That was something else. Thank you guys. Thank you guys first of all for putting up with the the little lags, the little glitches. I appreciate you guys. That was totally on our end for that. So I appreciate you guys seriously for sticking through. Huge shout out to Danny for coming on the show. That was an epic conversation. Man's a legend, and you know what? Like I don't know how long this journey I'm on in the cannabis world is going to last. I don't know when this flight will just land, but I want to tell you that like I've crossed a lot of things off my list that I am so proud of saying that I've done. And one of those things is having conversations with people like Danny and being able to just get into the brain of people that were at the forefront of the battle. And you know, he talks in a way about loss and sacrifice that I and many others will never understand. We are talking about a plant, and people have died over it. And someday we're going to be talking to our grandkids, and we're going to be sitting them down. They're going to be like, okay, grandpa, yep, they died over a plant. We get it. And it's just going to think, you know, it can be hard to fully fathom sometimes. And I even say that as someone who, you know, is a part of it. It's hard to fathom the atrocities that have really happened over the years due to prohibition. So thank you guys, man. Straight legend. Thank you. Rascal, Double A, Gorski, Woods World. I appreciate you guys all participating, man. John Lindsay, good to see you, man. Thank you. Sean, appreciate you, brother. On a roll, appreciate you. Shows like yours help the community keep it. Appreciate it, man. Thank you, John. That means a world to me, man. Double AP, you're a fantastic host to be putting these heroes up in our coop, brother. Oh, bro. I'm thankful. I'm thankful for that, dudes. You guys have no idea. Thank you for that. It's sweet, dude. It's an incredible journey. And so in lieu of that, I kind of want to say thank you. Okay, I kind of want to say thank you. I've got a little giveaway. I got a little giveaway in the spirit of 420, in the spirit of the coop. I didn't mention it before this. You kind of know how I do things. Mrs. P, what are we giving away?
We are giving away an HCI
Oh, here,
tray system.
mute me, unmute you.
Oh. That's better. We are giving away an ACI trim tray system.
Ribbon shade, John, and by golly, I'd tell you something about it, but I got nothing in front of me. I don't have any of the stats on it. It's a trim tray. I've used it. It's got multiple trays to it. It also works as like a sift. Comes with some some clippers too, I think, as well. It's a pretty sweet deal. I think on their site it's $150 Canadian, 125 Canadian. So it's a pretty sweet deal. Shout out to AC Infinity for allowing me to give something away for my people. Without telling anybody, I'm giving things away to my people. So all you got to do, Mrs. P will put a link in the chat for you. You just got to do me a solid. You got to hit the follow button over on Twitter, over on X. I know not everybody has a Twitter or X account. The reality is like, I got to get something out of this, you know, maybe a little follow here or follow there. I wasn't going to make anybody follow me on Twitch because, you know, that's just gaming content. So at least I keep Twitter to pretty much only weed. Just, I talk a lot of shit over there. But let me know. Let me know. There's a link right there. Put your name in there. Go ahead and hit it. Link's only going to be active for just a couple minutes while we rip a bong, while we rip a hoop, and we talk some shit. But again, I just seriously thank you guys for putting up with the things. That the lag was totally on my end. You know, when you're breaking records over here, I don't know what's happening with YouTube right now. I can see the frames like, or the bit rate drop and stuff. So I'm not 100% on what's going to correct that. Probably just a restart of the computer would have done it, but I didn't do that. So it is what it is. But my way of saying thank you is just throwing a little giveaway. So thank you guys for putting up with that. Nonetheless, I thought it was a great interview. I thought it was a great interview, you know. There was a lot of great conversation there, so hopefully it didn't ruin it too much. Cheers, friends. What do you do? What's wrong?
We waited too long for the giveaway.
Oh, did we?
It was closed.
Can you switch it to Twitch?
I just fixed it. I can't.
Oh, it's too late. Already fixed it? Okay. Sorry. Mrs. P just fixed it.
I just fixed it.
Mrs. P just fixed it. The link is now available.
Twitter's the only option.
And Twitter's the only option. I'm sorry. Can't even make a Twitch anyways. I'm not paying for this. I think I have to pay for the subscription to give things away, which is crazy. But yeah, I should have done the I could do a Nightbot giveaway thing. I'm gonna look into that because that's how ACI does their giveaways too. And it seems to be pretty easy that way, friends. Seems to be pretty easy that way. But just click that link. It should work. It should be fantastic, guys. Thanks for tuning in, man. One thing I want you to check too, Mrs. P, is I also have, I don't know if you can find the link for Tea with P. Throw that in the chat. Yeah, I know you can switch accounts and find it. Yeah, that'd be probably the best way. Mrs. P and I are starting up the podcast channel. I've been working on this for a long time, and I will not disappoint you on this. I've gone through, Mrs. P and I have gone through are going through all of the episodes. This was episode 50 of Tea with P. We've gone through all 50 episodes. We've edited them to not only fit for time, but get rid of out of any kind of awkwardness, because that's what Tea with P has been known for. Any kind of audio issues, all been edited. It's all been taken care of. And they're going to be getting posted with all new thumbnails, just the interviews over on Tea with P. And that's it right there. Tea Time with P. If you are interested, go check that out. Now, there's nothing posted yet, but there will be. We're going to be posting probably a couple times a week. Because I don't Yeah, I don't have a posting schedule as of yet. So that'll be a lot of fun. Okay, that'll be a lot of fun because it'll be just nice, crisp, clean. And if you didn't already know, Tea with P is on all audio platforms except for just a couple Mrs. P didn't get us on, but the rest we're all on. We're on everyone. So that's Apple. We're on all of them. You heard it here first. Spotify. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. We're on all audio platforms. So check that out. So what's that?
The episode with Matt from Strange Show, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's on there. It's on there. It's just edited down. But here's the thing, and this is why this show exists, is because like I enjoy doing a live show. I want it to be highly produced. I want it to be over the top. I want it to be completely different than every other thing live that you see online in our space. And the reality is there's going to be hiccups. There's going to be some times where it's like there's some ups, there's some downs. But that's the reality of doing it live. You know, as what's his nuts said, well, fuck it, we'll do it live. Who was that? Anyways, O'Reilly. But that's what you get if you come in, you tune in, you come to the Pigeons 420 channel, you get raw, you get unedited, you get uncut. This is just who I am. This is what this channel is. If you want it a little more refined and a little more easier to digest for whatever particular reason at any particular time, I'm going to make that an option as well. So if you'd be missing out if you don't see the live streams, because that's where the fun is really at. But the easy listening is going to be everywhere else. Okay, so I think we've gotten up. Oh, have you considered getting a live you backpack? It's funny. I'm pretty close to being able to have a full mobile rig. I'm pretty close. But yeah, not yet. I think we're ready. So if you guys haven't already, click that link that was in the chat. Mrs. P, drop it one more time as I give an outro to the raffle one. That's not it, but that's okay. That's the other one. Click that one as a ruse. Okay, that is a total ruse. Okay, that's me trying to get a couple subs over there. No, click on this. It's a giveaway, guys. I hope you win. The reason I do these at the very end of the show, and I never it's just I'm just trying to hit up those that stayed the whole time, had some fun, got through the hiccups. That's what it is. I appreciate you, because if you win, you're probably part of the flock, and I got no shame in that. So let's do it. Mrs. P, are you ready? What do we got? What do we have? Unmute yourself, mute me.
Too many microphones going on. The winner is Chris Moe. Is Chris still in the chat?
There we go. Who is it? You're more than welcome to use your nickname too, so you don't have to give away any kind of governmentals. Hey, there he is. Let's go. All right, Chris Moe. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here, dude. What I'm going to ask that you do is email giveaways at acinfinity.com. And I want you to screenshot your account logged in with this username and let them know that you won a Tea with P contest for the trim tray. And homie, I got you, okay? And to caveat that with anything, nobody will contact anybody and ask you for money. We'll cover everything, okay? We'll cover the shipping, we'll cover anything like that, okay? So nobody's going to contact anybody for money, but congratulations, Chris Moe. You won tonight's giveaway, and I appreciate you for watching the interview. Hopefully you got to see it and you were here. I didn't get to see the chat a whole lot, but I hope you had the opportunity to check it out and you had a good time. Guys, that was a Tea with P. That was a banger. It had a few hiccups as always, but that is your one-stop shop for all things nudes, culture, science, health. We've got an incredible guest next week as well. Stay tuned for that. We've got incredible guests lined up. Boom, 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 boom. Because guess what? Hockey's done. Hockey's done. It's almost done. It's done on Wednesdays. It's done on Wednesdays. It's done on Wednesdays. So we've got some free Wednesdays. Tea with P is coming at you hot every single week until baseball starts, and then we don't know when they'll practice. Hopefully not Wednesday nights. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Much love. Shout out to my patrons over on Patreon, patreon.com/pigeons420. I appreciate you guys for being there. If you want to see your name at the bottom of the screen, it might throw up a few lags. Hopefully it doesn't, but it might. You might see your name right there. Appreciate you. Go to patreon.com/pigeons420. I've got a ton of perks, and you can even attend the live grow classes that we got growing on as well. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Soda Can Gaming, I love you too, man. Double A, thanks for being here. Reg, I appreciate you. Lucifer, thank you. Idiom, LJ Jones, thank you. Sean, holla, on a roll. Thank you, man. Paul for being here. I thank you. AC Infinity for being in the house. I appreciate you too. Everyone, seriously, I can't thank you enough for being a part of the flock. You guys are what hold me up. You are the balloons to hold me and take me to the sky. So until next week or tomorrow on Twitch, twitch.tv/pigeons420, because we're live over there quite often. I think I might be doing, oh no, what?
We're gone.
I'm not here. So I'm probably going to, I won't even have time tomorrow. Fuck it, I might set sail tonight. Might pick this whole shit down and I might go sail the Sea of Thieves tonight. Because I can. Guys, I'll see you then. Until then, much love. Stay medicated. We'll see you soon. Peace. Hit him with the had him at Stash Blend.
Our little project, our little company, had a very big night. A very big night. But it wasn't complete. Wasn't nearly close to being in the same vicinity as complete. Because I couldn't share it with you. I couldn't hear your voice or laugh about it with you. I miss my wife. We live in a cynical world. Cynical world. And we work in a business of tough competitors. I miss you. I love you. You complete me. I'm not just as...
Shut up. Just shut up. You had me at Stash Blend.
I never said Stash Blend.
You had me at Stash Blend.
Okay. But that's for the garden. Beneficial bacteria, humic acid, silica, mycorrhizae.
Did you listen to anything I said?
Fuck it.
Are you focused on what matters most? Order your Stash Blend today and enjoy 20